All right, guys, let's go through an example of the rough draft for your narrative writing assignment. I'm going to be using the same example ideas that I came up with for the pre-writing packet. So if you have not already watched the 30-minute lesson on how to do the pre-writing packet example, go do that first, at least to hear some of the ideas and reasonings that I put for my pre-writing. Writing is done in stages. You formulate ideas, you put them on paper, and then you revise them. And in between each of your drafts, your ideas begin to shift, change, and become a little more thought out. There is no writer in the world alive today who does not follow some sort of procedure for writing. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, yeah, it kind of does. I just sit there and I write the first thing that comes to my mind and then I'm done. Then you're not doing it right. And I'll tell you what, you are missing out on your full potential as a writer if you continue to tell yourself that you're good enough to do this without thinking about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. I've got a rough draft packet sort of thing here for you guys to work through. Now this will be shared with you on Schoology. You may be looking at this and thinking, wait a second, hold on. How is this a rough draft? This doesn't look like any sort of rough draft I've ever seen, Mr. Sullivan. It looks like you already wrote it for us. Look at all these words. My gosh. And that's understandable. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pass this off to future Mr. Sullivan. I'm going to let future Mr. Sullivan, through the power of video editing, explain to you what we're going to do when we're done with this. And then it'll make a little bit more sense. All right, thanks, past Mr. Sullivan. Got a little darker in here, didn't it? Whew, okay, so here's what we're going to do when we're done with it. You're looking through this right now and you're thinking, wait, why does this have so much here? This isn't a paper yet. Well, here's what you can do. We're going to click, drag, and delete. Click, drag, and delete. Everything that I didn't write is going away. I didn't write this. Going away. I didn't write this. Going away. I didn't write this. Bye-bye. I did not write this either. And so long. Haha, now look at that. Holy cow. I've got a 5-paragraph essay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ho 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 ho. And it's perfectly formatted. It's in all the paragraphs are in different lines. I've got my indents at the beginning here. I didn't forget a single one of them. I indented. Huh. And now it's ready to just turn in. All I gotta do is maybe read it over one more time, and then I'm done. Back to you, past Mr. Sullivan. All right, welcome back. I hope that was informative. I'll trust my future self enough. Let's go ahead and look through this here. So what it says at the top are our instructions. Write a rough draft. Okay, it is important to remember there's no one way to tell a story. Below is a guide. It's just a guide. It is not a solid truth. This is not how everyone needs to write every story ever. This will just help you get your thoughts into a standard story structure. If you feel confident writing without these guides, get permission from me first. Because like I said, if you're not thinking about it, then you're missing your full potential. Write roughly a paragraph under each of the following categories, 5 to 7 sentences. The reason I say roughly is because some of them might be longer, some of them might be shorter. It's going to depend on how much you have to say about this. I already tried this once, and there were a couple where I'm like, I don't have much to say about this, so I'm just going to move on to the next category. Okay, and that's fine. But if that's the case, then I expect the next one to be a little bit longer. You'll see there is at least one section here. This second to the last says This section should be longer than the others. Okay, so it's just a rough estimation. All right, so let's look at this first section. Introduce your story and your conflict. Conflict is what's happening. The story is what happens. Right? The conflict is the point of the story. So introduce the point of the story. It tells us these are just guides down here underneath. These are just guides for how we can do this. Use your chosen topic as the first sentence of your story. What's your topic? What's your chosen topic? It's this right here on page 2. The brainstorming that we did together in class is your chosen topic. If I pull up mine here, I know it's kind of small. I'm sorry. I chose option number 2, so my topic is whatever I put under option number 2. You see that? So I can take this word for word and use it as the beginning of my entire story. Isn't that easy? The purpose of this is a hook, right? A story, a paragraph a paper should start with a hook, something to draw your readers in. Now, you might not have realized that you were doing this when you made this, when you wrote this down. You may not have realized that this is a story hook. It is. Now, if you've been taught by Miss Eubanks or whoever else other methods for making a hook, starting with a question, opening with a line of dialogue, opening with a quote, any of those things would also work as a hook. But this is the one I'm going to use for my example. I'm just going to take this word for word here. Okay, so that's this first line down. I'm going to cross that off, I think. All right, we'll cross that off because it's done. All right, next thing. Then, give background details. As many background details as you can think of. Use your pre-writing packet to help you when you get stuck. So this is, what do you need to know about this story? What was going on before this happened? What was going on? Where were you? How old were you? What time of year was it? Those kind of things. The next section is going to be about settings. So let's try and hold off on anything about where we were physically and think about where we were in more of a metaphorical sense. Right? You may want to look at questions 8, 7, 3, and 4 from the Tell Me More section, and question 1 from your life-changing moments section in your pre-writing packet. So if we open up our pre-writing packet, we go through here. This is the Tell Me More section on page 3. It's the first section. So it's telling us question 8. What else was it? Question 8, 7, 3, and 4. So 8 and 7. 8 is my timeline. 7 is my mood. 3 and 4 is what time of year was it and how old was I. Those are important bits of background details. So you may be wondering, why are these in that order, Mr. Sullivan? Why is it 8, 7, 3, and 4? Well, because I think that 8 is maybe the most important thing that you can do. The most important one you can use is this timeline. If you watch the one where I made this, if you watch the video where I made this, I told you that this right here, this middle section, is the meat of the story. Everything is taking place right here. And so this stuff beforehand is all just background details. Okay, so I can use these as background details. I woke up and did a lot of last-minute studying. I drove to the highway patrol office. Those are good background details. I think I'll use this one specifically. But I can't think of a way to jump straight to that. So I'm going to use maybe I can use the time of year and how old I was to lead me into that. And then question 7, what was my mood that day? Those would all be good background details as well. So, the day I got my driver's permit forever changed the way I saw myself as an independent person. The day I got my driver's permit forever changed the way I saw myself as an independent person. There's my hook. I had an early start to the day when I woke up early and did some last minute studying. That's from question 8. I had to take a test to get my permit, but once I had it, I would be able to drive the car legally, as long as my mom and dad were there with me. I was excited beyond belief, but also really nervous. That's taken straight from my question number 7. I was excited beyond belief, but I was also a little bit nervous. I was only 15 and a half years old, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So that's taken straight from my question number 3. How old was I? Now, I didn't necessarily get to the part about the time of year, but maybe I can use that a little bit later. Okay. So, I want to just talk real quick about this. Now, there's no specific question that asked me about this, but I realized that it was important to say that I was taking a test, because that's kind of the point of the story, is I had to take a test to get my permit. And I thought it was important to say what the permit would let me do, which is to let me drive the car, as long as your parents were around. Okay? I'm sure some of us have older brothers or sisters that are just about at the age to get their permit. It's a very exciting time of one's life. Now, I can't think of anything else to say for this section here, so I'm just going to move on. I'm going to go to the next one. I'll start down here. I'll give me some space, indent, so I have a proper paragraph, and read what it says here. Tell me more about where you were when this happened. Remember to focus the experience down to a single day. If you went multiple places, quickly explain them. You may want to use your answers from Tell Me More 1, 2, 5, and 6. So let's see. Where's number 1 is where were you? 2, who were you with? 5 is how did you get there? And 6, why were you there? Ooh, I should have put 6 first. I think 6 might be the better. Maybe number 1 and then number 6 would be the best ones to go back to back with each other. So let's start with those two. So all right, so let me scroll up here so my little video box isn't hiding that. Here's what I put. I was in the highway patrol office in Canfield across from the fairgrounds. It was the next town over, but it was the only place nearby that I could get my driver's permit, so we made the long drive. Now that answers straight from number 1, where was I, and number 6, why was I there? Okay. Then I said, since I couldn't drive yet, my mom had to drive. I remember thinking about how strange it was to go so close to the fair where they would soon set up the Ferris wheel and cotton candy stands. That sentence comes straight from question 5. How did I get there? Right? And if you saw my my video on how to do the packet, then you might remember me having a lot of different epiphanies when I got to that exact question. And so I brought them over into here. We weren't going to have a good time. I was going to take a test. That kind of goes along with my mood for the day. Question 7, I was excited beyond belief, but also a little nervous. Let me put that in there. Okay, and that also goes from question 6, why was I there? I was there to take a test. Okay. All right, so my lines keep shifting here. So our next section is introduce characters. I have nothing more to say here. If you end up writing 3 or 4 more paragraphs just talking about the setting, because you can't help yourself, you just have to describe that you were at the amusement park that had a red roller coaster that was 500 feet tall, and over to the next roller coaster over was orange and went 500 miles an hour, then that's fine. You can spend more time talking about that. You can write as much as you want. Our next section is introducing characters. And it says, for each person who is in this story, give me a sentence or a paragraph explaining them. Now, if you don't want to write a lot, one sentence is fine. If you have a lot to say, then about one person, then I would put it on a different paragraph from the other person. If you don't have a lot to say about them, then you can keep them next to each other. Use your knowledge of direct and indirect characterization to convey the traits you decided in the section Who Else Was There in your writing packet. So let me look back at my writing packet, my little handy dandy guide here. Find my Who Else Was There section. Okay, and it says to list 5 people and then choose the ones that were most important. So I'm only worried about the ones that were most important. I chose to do 2 different people. If you only chose to do 1, then you're going to have a little easier time. If you chose to do all 5 of them, then it might be a little harder. And I'll expect at least 1 to be done as thoroughly as I'm about to show you. Okay, so it asks us who they were, what are their character traits? What's their character trait? Right? Now, a character trait is what they act like or think like. Things like being brave and fun are character traits. And we talked about our indirect and direct ways of giving these character traits. We can either come right out and say it, or we can use small clues to make them to make the readers think about it. Okay, so I have my mom and the man who was running the exam. And I say my mom was proud, the man was snobbish, and I thought of a couple different ways that I could get those traits across. Okay, I thought about having my mom give me a hug and smile at me. That's down here in question 5. And I thought about having the man not laugh at my joke. I can't remember what that joke was today. I knew what it was when I made this, but I can't remember what it was now. So maybe I'll think of something else on the fly. What is one thing that they said to you? Ooh, my mom might have said that she was proud, and the man, he might have said good job after I was done. So yeah, I'll put that. I'll find a way to get that in there. All right, let's go ahead and introduce these characters. The first thing I want to do is say that they were there. Realized I was typing in the wrong spot, so I'm going to move it. No harm, no foul. All right, so here's what I put down in my attempt to characterize both my mom and this man behind the counter. I didn't have a whole heck of a lot to say, so I kept them both on the same line here. Now, if I had more that I wanted to say about my mom, I would have made sure that it was separate from the man. Now, another important thing that I want to mention while I go through this is just because I am taking time in this section to explain who was there doesn't mean that I should stop the story. I need to make it move forward. I need to talk about the test. So instead of just stopping and saying, my mom was there, she had curly hair, she was proud of me, also there was a man and he was snobbish because blah, 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 I decided to throw in some details about what was going on at the time that I noticed all of this. Okay, so my mom was there with me. She had curly black hair and smiled at me with a look that showed how proud she was that her youngest son was taking the permit test. That's direct characterization. I am directly telling you that she looked at me with pride. She was proud. That was my chosen character trait, proud. I directly said the word proud, so job done. After she hugged me, I went up to the man behind the counter and told him why I was there. Now that's coming straight from question 5. She smiled at me and gave me a hug. I used both of those in my attempt to characterize her. I went up to the man behind the counter. Now I'm introducing him. I don't remember what he looked like, so I'm skipping his description. He explained to me what I had to do to pass the test. There were 40 questions, and the test was done on a touchscreen computer. I'm moving the story forward. Unlike my mom, he didn't smile the entire time he was speaking to me. Now, I put down originally that he didn't laugh at my joke. I can't remember what that was. I forgot. I've completely forgotten. So I just went with what the opposite of my mom did. He didn't smile at me. And once he was done, he went behind the counter and read his book. Now, did he actually do that or not? I don't know. It was 10 years ago. Give me a break. But probably close enough. I remember him being very snobbish and disinterested. He didn't care one bit whether or not I was going to pass the test. So, of course, he probably went behind the counter and read his book. Okay. So I can't think of anything more to say in this section about these two. But I might come back to this in a minute when I go through and look for places to put dialogue. But for now, let me move on to my next section. Life-changing moment. I've been talking for a while, so maybe it's a good idea to pause your video, go write a little bit, and come back. And then we'll go through this next section together. All right, I'm guessing you're back. So, this is the biggest section of your story. I expect you to have way more than just one paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences written here. Okay, it says, "Tell me the story of what happened that day, the day that changed your mind." Okay, that changed your life. I guess I should say changed your life. This section should be longer than the others. You may wish to use your answers to question 6 from Tell Me More, and all the questions in your life-changing moment. So let's take a look at these. Question 6 from Tell Me More says, why was I there? Okay, that has been stated several times, so I don't think I'm going to use that. And then my life-changing moment, where'd that go? Here it is. All of these. Okay, number 1 says, how did you see yourself before that day? How did you see yourself and or the world after that day? What was the single thing that changed you? And think about some character traits before and after. So I think what I'm gonna do, and you can do this in just about any order. These can help you no matter how you want to do it. I think I'm going to use my answers to number 4 first. Actually, before I got my permit, I was timid, afraid, and eager. I'm gonna use some more indirect characterization to show that I was kind of timid. Right? Timid means scared. Right? So let me do that. I'm just gonna do that real quick. All right. So in order to using my answer for number 4, before I got my permit, I was timid. I said when I started the test, I was very timid. There, very direct characterization. I pressed the buttons for my answers slowly, and I was pretty sure. There should be a comma there, and I was pretty sure I was getting all of them wrong, but I kept trying. So now I'm going to look back here, see what else I can give. Let's start using number 1. How did I see the world before? I felt like I was dependent on my parents and my older brother to drive anywhere. I felt like I had no independence and I was limited in what I could do. So what I'm going to do in order to get that across, I could just say that that's what was going on, but I want to keep this story going. So I'm going to say, as I took the test, I thought about how nice it would be to not have to rely on my family to drive me places anymore. I was ready to be independent. That's basically just taken straight from question 1. Just trying to think of ways to make it fit into the story. Now I'm going to shift to question 3. What was the pivotal moment? My answer was the moment that the test machine stopped and told me to go see the instructor was the moment that changed everything. Okay, so here I'm telling the story. I'm starting the test. As I'm taking the test, I'm thinking about being able to drive on my own. And then finally, the test ends. And that's the moment that everything changes. Now I'm getting a little stuck here. So I'm going to look back to my question number 2 and see what I put. How did I feel after the event? Okay, I just described the event of passing the test. And I'm thinking, wait a second, what should I say now? I felt like an adult. I was proud of myself. I'm going to use that. All right, so let's read through this here. I used my answer to question 4 for this part. When I started the test, I was very timid. I pressed the buttons for my answers, slowly, and I was pretty sure I got every single one of them wrong, but I kept trying. Now here's my answer for what this came from. Number 1. As I took the test, I thought about how nice it would be to not have to rely on my family to drive me places anymore. I was ready to be independent. Now here's 3, the pivotal moment. When I answered the final question on the test, it stopped me and showed the big window that said to go see the instructor because I had passed. From that moment on, I knew that I was no longer a little kid who had to be driven places. Here's my answer from question 2. I was really proud of myself for being the first one in my friend group to get my permit, and I couldn't wait to start driving around on my own. So just like that, I've told most of this story using only what I came up with inside of this packet. Now, will all of these be applicable to you exactly? Probably not. That's why it's a suggestion. These are guidelines. This is not a solid truth. But we have one more section to go, and then I'm going to be done for the night. Go get some dinner. All right. Conclusion. End your story by summarizing your experiences and the lessons that you learned. Repeat your topic statement again and use your answer to number 2 in your life-changing moment to help you. Okay, I already used my answer to question 2, but I can use it again. And if you didn't use it before, you can use it now. All right. So end your story by summarizing your experiences and saying a lesson that you learned. Well, what was the lesson I learned? Let me think about that for a second. Gee, I don't know. I can come up with something though. Let's see here. If I start with my topic again, where'd it go? The day I got my driver's license changed the way I saw myself as an independent person. I can bring that down here. Let's change it up a little bit, though. Let's just say that day forever changed me. I saw myself as an independent person from then on out. I learned to always try my hardest, even if I was a little nervous. Let me add something to this here. This'll already have been on yours by the time you get to it. How's that sound? You're gonna see the future change. Okay. You can also use your answer to You can also use your answer to question 8 and tell me more. Okay, so what am I talking about here? I'm talking about this timeline. Okay, this is everything that happened during. Now I'm at the end of the story. I'm gonna bring up some of the stuff that happened at the end of the day. Okay, I'm gonna bring up. So I have my mom took me to Celebrate. We went and got my picture taken, and hung out with my friends. I'm just gonna take all three of this and use it at the end here. Let me put it in the middle though. I kind of like what I have at the end. All right, so there's my conclusion paragraph. That day forever changed me. I saw myself as an independent person from then on out. I learned the ways. I learned to always try my hardest, even if I was a little nervous. After the test, my mom and I went to A&W to celebrate with root beer floats. This is coming from question 8. Then it was off to the BMV to get my picture taken for my license. I gloated to my friends on how I had passed the test, and the best part was I did it on my own ability. Okay, we're ending this on my own ability. We're ending this with a nice, powerful final statement. Boom, it's over. All right. Thanks, everyone, for paying attention, and I trust that you will go back and use this as a resource to help you. And by the time I get a chance to see you again, hopefully you'll have a good amount of this written out. See ya.